Yeah, cool. Okay, so pardon me because I'll have to do this again. Ravichandran 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏, who's our guest for today's discussion, is a former chairman, in fact, of Hewlett-Packard in India. He's also the former managing director of ANZ Bank India. He's ex-director of Memphis's India Limited, independent director at Ujjivan Small Finance Bank Limited, which is a listed entity on BSE and NSE. He's a resident director at Outpost VFX, which is a UK-based visual effects company, chairperson of 𝑫𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒅𝒓𝒂𝒏 Trust, and founder of Smrti Academy, Florets Academy Allied Consulting. I believe these all entities are based in Bangalore, India. Ravichandran 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 Ravi is a global leader with 35 plus experience of steering banking, technology, shared services, GCCs, and education. As former chairman of Hewlett-Packard India and global head of shared services, he led to 20,000 employees across 58 countries, working with very senior global leaders. Previously, as a managing director of ANZ Bank's India Operations and Technology, he helped set up banking back office and technology teams and scaled them, driving digital transformation. With a proven track record in digital transformation and business strategy, Mr. Ravi is poised to guide boards through India evolving business and tech-driven sustainable growth and governance. Since transitioning from corporate life in 2014, Mr. Ravi has combined his expertise in governance, finance, digital transformation, and organizational leadership with a passion for education and social impact. He has served on boards of listed and global companies, founded successful educational ventures, and chaired one of India's largest education NGOs. Founded a Montessori school and a K-12 CBSE school, chairman of 𝑫𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏, an NGO that is the largest online school for rural India, teaches 2.5 lakh children in 950 villages across 17 states, 8 languages, with 7,000 volunteer teachers. By qualification, he's an ACCA and CMIA UK, independent director qualification by IICA India, and a global CFO from Wharton, USA. Welcome, Raviji, once again. Good to have you with us. And obviously, I resonate with the expression of Rakhi ji, which is she's clapping for your introduction. So absolutely most welcome. Lovely to have you. And yes, we are very, very honored to have your valuable presence. Looking forward to hearing from you. I'm handing it over to you, please. You'll have to unmute, and I'll have to make you the co-host so that you can actually unmute or mute yourself. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gaurav ji, and good evening to all. Today I thought I will start off this conversation in a different way with a story primarily. And if you look at our tradition, and this is a story which was actually told by 𝑑𝒏𝒏 Patnaik, and I borrowed from him. He said that there are 3 types of heavens as per the Indian mythology. One is the Indra's Swarga, where everything is abundant, whether it is wealth, pleasure, success, whatever it is, everything is in abundance. But Indra is always insecure. And he's watching his back, and he doesn't know when the next Asura will come and invade him. So, though it is a heaven, it is a battlefield. So it's like what we call as a Ranabhumi. As that's what 𝒏𝒏 Patnaik takes it to. And then there is a second type of heaven, which is Shiva's heaven. If you see Shiva's a photograph of Shiva with Parvati, and the bull, the lion, and his 2 children, the small rat, as well as the snake and the peacock, you will realize that the lion's prey is the bull. The snake's prey is the rat. And the peacock's prey is the snake. But none of them is frightened in that photograph, because they have transcended hunger. So Shiva's heaven is about transcending indulgence, attachment, no fear. Everything is unnecessary. It's all burnt away. They have outgrown it. But then it's also very stark and seems like a cremation ground because there's nothing there. And then there is the third heaven of Vishnu, where Vishnu actually lives with his people. He shares and he supports them. He enjoys whatever is happening in that, in the playground. There is complete order, but there is also joy and there is responsibility. It's more a celebration ground, or what 𝑹𝒂𝒗𝒊𝒄𝒏 calls as a Rangabhumi. So why am I telling you all this? Because education, if you look at today, as educationists, we are choosing unconsciously one of these three heavens in our schools. And then I had to, this year, I was forced to confront with this truth for myself. And I had to name that fear inside me. And I call it the fear of, being driven by pressure. But then there is no point in blaming, correct? I get pressure from parents, I get pressure from competition, I have pressure from, ranking of my school, I have pressures of comparison, I'm not getting enough admissions, so I have pressure. So if learning alone was enough, think about it, why do we then have weekly tests in our calendars? And if understanding alone was enough, why should there be tuition centers? So without making a judgment over here, I thought that, most of us are choosing our battlefield not because we want to do it. We are choosing it because we are afraid not to choose. What will happen if I don't choose the battlefield? So what happens is, when we talk of a reform in education, all the conversations will say, okay, don't go after marks, don't go after, don't bother about competition, don't put pressure on anyone. And all those are philosophically correct and needed. But just look at it brass tacks. I'm sure all of you in this audience must be telling, yeah, this guy, I don't know what he's smoking today. And that is the reality. So the real question is, can we design a system that survives the battlefield without becoming one? So I'm not telling get away from the battlefield. You will have a Ranabhumi of sorts. But can we design something where we can be in that Ranabhumi without becoming one? And that one insight that shaped me was that a breakthrough will not happen when we fix one thing that is not working in the system or the ecosystem, but then the parts will have to come together. And this I learned because I'm managing my school, my CBSE school. I work with and in about close to 1,000 government schools in villages. And my conversations have been done with, the leaders in the ecosystem. So if 2025 taught me anything, it said that the education reform is a journey of sequential efforts. It is something that you will do over a period of time, but the visible transformation will be seen and will appear only after all the changes that you have made and all the efforts that you have made converge. If they work in isolation, then they only add to pressure. And so what are the convergences that I am looking at? And 2025, this was my journey actually. So there were 4 levers that were there. And the first one was competency-based education, and all of you know that, correct? So it is, should I finish the syllabus, or should I ensure that my child has understood and is actually, I mean, he's doing something, and what is it that I'm trying to get him to do? Is it understanding? Is it application? Is it explanation? I mean, what is it that I'm trying to do beyond just completion of syllabus? That's the first lever. The second lever was assessments are for learning. Learning is not for assessment. So, for example, I don't teach, we all of us have integrated programs, correct? We are teaching for IIT JEE, we are teaching for CBSE exam, we are teaching for NEET. But are we actually teaching for assessments, or are those assessments for us to confirm learning of this child? So this is where agency begins. And what do I mean by agency? Agency means taking ownership for the learning and outcome. So when I say agency of the child is taking some ownership. When I say agency of the teacher is taking ownership. When I say agency of principal is taking ownership, or the management is the same. So let me look at assessment for learning. So typically, so let's say you taught a topic, and give you an example here to bring it to life. Let's say we taught a topic of area. So typical question will be, hey, length is so much, breadth is so much, what's the area, correct? Of this shape, or something like that. Supposing you give the question, you shape the question this way. The answer to the question is 20 square centimeters. So the child, you need to frame 3 meaningful questions that will come to this correct answer. So your question is going to be, the answer is 20 square centimeters, but you have to give me 3 questions that will come to this answer. The minute the child is able to think of asking 3 questions, then he's gone beyond recall and he's started understanding the topic, and he's understood the concept. And this is not creativity of marks. This is actually clarity of thinking. So the first one is, of the 4 levers, was competency-based, and therefore not completing the syllabus, but focus on understanding. The second one was assessment for learning. The third one is teacher enablement. How do I enable the teacher? Because they are the last mile. If we don't enable the teacher, this is not going to be delivered. And we all know that teachers were trained in rote learning systems themselves, and they are struggling with asking the right questions, teaching the right way. So at Smrti Academy, what we did was we said, let's focus on hands-on workshops. Let's do a lesson redesign completely, which we did, and a lot of reflection. Now, I'm not saying that we have already reached there. We are also in our journey to getting there. Because these agentic children, that is, children who take ownership for their learning, require agentic teachers, teachers who own the way they teach. So that's the third lever, enabling the teacher. The last one is, how do I leverage technology? Because this is not about automation. This is not about replacing the teacher, but this is about amplification. I deployed AI in 2 specific areas. One was an AI teacher, which now I have deployed in 50 schools across 5 states in my NGO. Her name is Vidya Ganga, and she teaches from the cloud. She teaches in 5 languages. She teaches 5th grade to 10th grade children. She teaches English, maths, and science. And We've got good reviews in the last now first 5 months or 6 months that she's been teaching, but it's going to take me another 6, 8 months to figure out how she's actually making a difference. The second one that I did was an AI agentic assessment tool that I have deployed in Smrti Academy, where from 6th to 9th grades, I have made the AI agentic assessment tool to set weekly quizzes. So let's say I do a topic today. So there will be a quiz for the child, which the child can actually answer within 15 minutes. It will be a set of 8 questions. Sorry, it will be a set of 7 questions. 3 questions on recall and understanding, 3 questions on application of knowledge, and 1 PISA level question. The PISA level question, I'm not expecting the child or the teacher to answer. But once they start seeing that question, they start realizing, oh, okay, so you can ask a question like this. And therefore, what the child will does, and it has already started happening, after the first 2 tests, the children have started going back. So they read the concept and they go back to the web and they've started searching and trying to learn difficult concepts, difficult aspects of the concept themselves. This is agentic child. This is the child who's taking ownership for his learning. The fun was the question paper comes to them at the last minute because AI just takes less than 10 seconds to generate this question paper for me. So I just generate it before the test and hand it over to them. So it's a surprise to the teacher. It's a surprise to the child as well. And the fun is that, but how do we use it? That's the most important thing. Because once the child is assessed, we get reports from the AI stating, hey, so many children understood the concept, or so many children didn't understand, or so many children got it wrong here or where. So the analysis itself is extremely good to pinpoint specific things about each child. So your learning has become personalized already. This is one. Second, the way I use it is, so let's say 15 of the 30 children in my class didn't understand this. So I don't go to the teacher and say, okay, you've done a lousy job on teaching, boss, so better get your act together. No, I don't do that. So we sit down and figure out, okay, what did not land with the children? And how do we make it land? So the teacher is willing to put his hand or her hand up and say, boss, something is not working. And they know that they are not going to be penalized. And this is at the crux of what I do. In the how you respond and give a non-threatening environment to both the teacher and the child, the learning starts getting better. So what did we do? We have an AI that teaches. We have an AI that sets papers. We have an AI that provides instant feedback. We have an AI that reveals thinking patterns. And we have an AI that reduces delay and just removes the judgment aspect of it completely. These are the 4 levers that I have picked up, learned, and started to implement. I'm not telling you I have implemented it fully because AI takes time to implement. So these are 4 levers: are competency-based education, assessment for learning, and not the other way around, enabling the teacher, and lastly, leveraging technology. But if you see here, the philosophy is the same. Only thing is the intensity is changing. So if you want to implement it in a over a period of time, over 2 years, 3 years, you'll start realizing that there will be tension because something is working, something's not working. Again, something's working and something else is not working. You've got the teachers trained, but there is no specific feedback. I've not leveraged technology. I've enabled the teacher, but I've not been able to enable and empower the child. So what do I do? Correct? So it takes time to settle down. So the philosophy will remain the same, but your intensity can change. So at Smrti, we went back to first principles. That is, how do we finish the syllabus was not the question we asked. We only said, what should the child actually be able to do after learning this? Correct? But once that came through, the teacher decided and figured out how to complete the syllabus. It was not that the syllabus should not be completed, but the fact that they took ownership by saying, okay, what is it that the child is going to learn from this? And guess what? If he doesn't learn this from me, he's not able to go to the next lesson, maybe 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line. What do I do? So that is what the teachers started figuring out, and they figured out a way to complete the syllabus. So I didn't need to do anything on that. And that is the essence of competency-based, correct? The syllabus completion will happen on its own when we don't need to put the pressure. Because agency, that is ownership, cannot be taught. It will emerge by itself and it will happen by itself, and it has to be taken. And for me at 𝒄𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒏, where the child is, where you have multi-age classrooms and you have, no teachers to one teacher for every 200 children, which is more complex for me. When the child started learning and when the child started understanding, the confidence just flowed. I did not let AI replace any teacher, but what it did was, and it was a beautiful thing that AI did there, it started teaching concepts really well to the children. And these teachers who were there, who were struggling with concepts themselves, they were listening to the AI and they have started learning the concepts, and they've written to us stating, hey, this is a very non-threatening way of learning, one. Two, I don't need to go to a 2-day or a 3-day program conducted by the government to teach me this concept. It doesn't stick to me. It's going to take more time, but here is this AI which is going chapter by chapter and explaining this so beautifully. And I'm learning these concepts myself, that I'm now confident that I'll be able to teach the next time around. So I may take 1 year, I may take 1.5 years, I may take even 2 years, but that's okay. It's getting timed out, and it's getting, not timed out, it's getting stretched out beautifully with no pressure on the teacher to say, you have to learn this within 4 days or 5 days or 7 days. And that's the beauty of what this can happen, this can do. But there was something that I learned personally in this journey. And in between all this, I also wrote a book. It's called Gita of the Future. Now, this book is about a human being talking to a super intelligent AI. So I assumed, so today's AI, if you take the best of AI, is about 150 IQ. So I said, okay, what happens? Can you become a 1,500 IQ AI? And AI said yes. What I did was I framed about 70 questions in my head on different aspects of life, work, all that. And I asked those questions of 4 different AI platforms. I took their answers, reframed questions, I reframed the answers myself, and I wrote this book. The fun is a lot of the book answers that came to me and the questions that I sent back to the AI were all reframed and with my conversation with the AI tool, which also has its IQ at about 150, not more than that. But we decided to take it to and say, what will happen if you become 1,500? How do you flex? And that's what we did. What did I learn from this? It was beautiful that when I asked shallow questions, I got shallow answers. But when I asked the deep questions, the thought process changed. It was not a deep answer, just a deep answer, but my thought process changed, and the thought process of AI, which was answering to me, changed because it started rephrasing itself. It said, my God, I've got answers. I mean, I will share at some time this stuff because it tells me, my God, I didn't think it along this way. So let me rephrase it now that you got me to think it along this way. So what happens is, when you're able to give your child the ability to question and question properly, the thought process changes. So the future, in my opinion, will not be to the child who has all the answers, but will be to the child who can ask the right questions. And for that matter, it will be to that teacher who can ask the right question, or to the principal that can ask the right question, or to the director or owner or the policy framework who will ask the right question. So this was something that I picked up in 2025. And then came the other piece, which was where I was thinking, okay, what does this ecosystem think, correct? What about the policymakers? What about those who are in a larger frame, who are at a different level, who are thinking at the system level, at a higher level? So I had a chance to meet with Bill Gates to discuss my agentic AI, because he had heard of the agentic AI. And my conversation, funnily, was not about technology at all. He was talking of what could be the outcome at scale for the underserved communities. So he asked me, what outcomes are you trying to push for, Ravi? And how do I now take this and implement it in Africa? You're doing this in India. How do I implement it in Africa? Because I gave him an example of, so Mr. Zargar would be very happy with this. I have 2 schools which are in Poonch district, 1 kilometer from the line of control, where there are no teachers. No teachers have been landing up in that school for the last 3 years. But from this June, I have 3 of my teachers beaming in online and teaching these children. These are my volunteer teachers. And now I'm quietly looking to see how to introduce one AI teacher there. So he said, we can drive change. You can actually drive change. And his thought process was, how do I now leverage it in Africa? What outcomes should I look at at scale? And then the second person who I met was the finance minister. She had called for a meeting of, pre-budget consultations. And I, was called for that meeting, and I consulted with Mr. Gaurav. So thank you, Gaurav, for your points, because I took those points and I took some of my points as well. And we had a conversation of how education to skill development to employability to employment. How can we bring a continuum? Because today it's not a continuum. It breaks. I don't care what happens after 12th grade, because that's where my school ends. Someone else picked up and says, you know what? My college would have been much better if these 12th grade guys who turned up to my college were better. Someone else says, okay, they've done the college, now it's their job to figure out where to get a job. I don't even know whether the syllabus in college is relevant to industry, because 60% of the feedback is 60% of industry people are stating that the graduates that they hire are not suitable for employment. And this is a real statistic. So how do we address this? And I gave the finance minister a possible solution. So from the village classroom to the policy rooms, the questions are actually converging. It's all coming back to that one point agency, which is ownership. So let me close now with a story. It was a nice example. So we had our science exhibition in our school, and there were these children who were trying to build a model for sustainable water recycling. And they were trying to showcase that. And they had built a canal, and the water was leaking from the canal. So whatever they did, the water was leaking. So I knew a simple fix as soon as I saw it, but I refused to say anything. I stepped back and said, let these guys work on it. And actually, these children worked on it for 4 hours. failed many times, but finally fixed it. So when I went back to them and asked, okay, how many iterations did you guys do in this? And the child said, God only knows, sir. I don't know how many iterations we have done. So I said, okay, so if this were an exam, I said, would you have, what grades would you have got? Would you have passed or failed? And, they said, definitely failed, sir. And I asked, but did you actually fail? And they said, no, we actually found the way, it just took a little longer. And that is what learning looks like when no one is grading you. So in Gita, and I'll finish with this, in Gita, Krishna does not prepare Arjuna to pass a test. He only prepares him to act with clarity. A Viksit Bharat will not be built by compliant learners or compliant teachers or compliant principals or compliant schools or compliant policy makers. It will be built if we all take ownership. It will be built by thinking, confident, agentic citizens, those who take ownership, guided by agentic teachers and led by courageous principals. And I will leave you with one question. Will your school be remembered for its pass percentage or for the confidence with which its children step into life with no one is grading them? Thank you.
Wonderful. अभी आधा घंटा और था, आप बोल सकते हैं, वैसे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
No, yeah, I talked too much already.
ये उसका रीजन है, मैं बता रहा हूँ. जो आप बोल रहे हैं एग्जैक्टली सभी लोग सुनना वही चाहते हैं, मैं ये बोलूंगा. तो my point was that I think I'll pick up only one point, Ravi ji, and I think we'll have to develop a little on that, because आपने जो अपने आई थिंक वो 4 लीवर्स आपने यूज किए हैं, उसमें से मैं जो थर्ड वाला लीवर है उस पर थोड़ा ज्यादा फोकस करूंगा और फोर्थ वाले पे भी करूंगा. शायद पहले 2 काफी ऑपरेशनली बड़े हैवी हैं स्कूल्स के अंदर, वो ऑलरेडी यूज हो रहे हैं, लोग काफी उसके बारे में जान रहे हैं. टीचर इनेबलमेंट की बात तो हो रही है रवि जी. आई पर्सनली फील कहीं ना कहीं टीचर वेलफेयर मिसिंग है. I personally feel, and in fact I wanted to specifically ask you, this was actually my question which I had not shared in my original indicative questions to you, because you're a thought leader, you've not just been in this sector, you've been across, and I believe here there are a lot of leaders, and at least at IPN what we want to bring forth at least in 26 is that while you want to give the ownership to the teacher, and I agree to it what you are saying, and because I being an entrepreneur, that's the way we operate in our organization, that everyone takes care of their work at an independent level, for that matter, as an ownership level. But somehow I feel when I look at the schools in India, while ownership is asked or say requested from the teacher, when it comes to teacher welfare, I think we somehow are reluctant, or maybe we take a back seat. How do we put that piece together? I think you'll be the best person to answer that. Please.
Beautiful question and a complex one. Let me attempt an answer. So few things. One is that the ownership first, we have to understand, rests with the management team and the principal. And I think that we have to build an environment that is non-threatening first for the teacher. And here I'll give you an example of what I've done. In fact, all my training programs with the teachers, I come to them, even though someone else is training them, I always come back and tell them only one thing. I said, look, if you don't know something when you're teaching, and let's say a question comes to you from a child and you don't know the answer, you can turn around and say, okay, come here, guys. Guess what? I don't know the answer. Let's learn it together and Google it. You send 2 messages to the child. One, that the teacher need not know all the answer, and therefore, but the teacher is not bad, because you will take that answer from the Google, you will ask that of the child, You will get his interpretation, but you will add to it, which shows that the child that you've sent a very clear message that you're adding value to this.
Absolutely.
And whatever is there is content, but the value comes from the teacher there. But most importantly, the second this one is second part is that you have also told yourself that, hey, it's okay not to be able to answer. And the school is ready for that. So a non-threatening environment, this is just an example, but a non-threatening environment for the teacher. Second, a diverse workforce, not necessarily from one type of community or locals or language specific thing, but an absolutely diverse set of teachers that you should have from across the country, who can speak in multiple languages, who do different things, and also a gender diversity, which is needed, absolutely needed. This, if you see, typically schools are 80% ladies. Nothing wrong with that. But what happens is any organization which does not have a gender diversity suffers. And therefore, I have seen to it that, I get some gender diversity into the school. This is the second one. The third one, of course, is, we close our school by around 2:45 in our school. So I start at 8:15 and shut it down by 2:45. I tell the teachers, go home, and once you go home, please don't think of our school. Don't even think about it. Whatever planning you want to do during the school hours when you're sitting there, be 100% productive. And when you're looking at that productivity, that is more than enough for me. You don't need to go home and think of the school. And this is exactly the same thing with my principal. My principal has not stayed back beyond 3:15 on any day. She leaves. So there is a work-life balance that you need to drive in the organization as well. The fourth thing is, how do you compensate? Is compensation good enough for these people? That's the fourth one. Fifth one is respect. Respect for the individual. And I think this is also very critical. You make mistakes, you may not be as good in terms of concept than somebody else in the team, but that's okay. We are all here to learn together. And the end of the day, the child is what matters to us. The child is our primary customer. But as a teacher, you are the most important piece to me, because you are the last mile for me. If something goes wrong with that, we are wrong. We go wrong. So we have to, as management, as well as principals, to take the ownership of the welfare of the teacher. It's a beautiful question, Gaurav. Thank you for asking. And I hope, I attempted an answer at this.
No, I think at least I got few direction, which I personally believe this would certainly help others also here. And definitely, I'll come to my second question, which is from our last conversation, Raviji. And I think it made me think when I had left that conversation, because by the time I was in the conversation, I was not able to really think about it. Schools are increasingly becoming soft targets. When we say soft target with respect to parents making or these cases which are sometimes very unwarranted, and I find schools to become, they're becoming fast what we call the soft target. There are a lot of issues which have come up in the recent past also, which were national sometimes were regional, wherein a kid takes a extreme step and then suddenly school principals are held accountable, basically. And in fact, this is stemming out from Induji, our conversation last time, in fact, and the principal is right here with us, basically, in this conversation as well. So first, I would love to hear from you, Raviji. How do schools, in specific principals, who are not the owners, but they face the brunt of it, and how do they navigate this? I know it's a tricky one again.
Very tricky, very tricky. Because it has significant legal ramifications.
Correct? I know, which is yes.
So,
I thought of something, but I'm not going to disclose that to you. Hence, I would first hear it from you, and then maybe I'll add to it. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gee.
To me, I think it requires a wider conversation on few things. One is children's mental health, which we need to look at. Teachers' mental health. We forget teachers' mental health completely. And so there is a lot of coaching that we give at Smrti Academy for our teachers to ensure that we take care of their mental health and stability so that they are able to give something to the teacher, to the child.
Correct.
But the ownership rests still with the director. And in my opinion, the director has to stand up and be counted. And typically we tend to go away because, you know what, there's a principal who's standing in front of you in the line of fire. And I think that is where leadership comes in. So we had a situation in our school as well, where I stood up and I just was to be counted, and I counted the parent straight. And I told the principal, I want you to move out of the conversation right now because she was just getting bullied. And I said, don't stand to get bullied, and you will not be. I will not allow you to get bullied. I will not allow any of my team members to get bullied. So the ability for the ownership to stand up to this, second. Third thing is, I think POCSO needs to be studied carefully. The Act needs to be studied very carefully. The Act needs to be relooked at, given new kind of, how do I put it? The teeth that is given to POCSO is good, but overreaching. I think it's basically a legal overreach, and we should fight it. And we should have the courage to fight the legal overreach of POCSO. So third thing I would say. The fourth thing that I really want to say is somehow we, when we get into a situation, we don't speak the truth, or we speak our version of the truth that we have. And that's where the problem starts. And if we are able to just state it as it is. So if we made a mistake, hands up, boss, I made a mistake. And I'm willing to face the consequences for that. But if I didn't make a mistake, I'm not going to allow anyone to bully my team members. So if we are able to put our hands up and say clearly that this is what it is, I think
it can be handled. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I handled it exactly the same way when we got into an issue.
The only dichotomy is here you was the leader, as in you were the leader who made sure you took the front seat. On the contrary, it happens the other way around, wherein the principal is made to take the front seat. And sadly, I mean, that's the way I've heard it. And I'm very careful when I'm saying this. I have seen this happening, and I've seen so many principals, in fact, reaching out to us while we have no value to add to that conversation. But there are instances which at least I recall personally. Perfect. I think that will help leaders here. I personally, I mean, Raviji, also, you can correct me if I'm in the wrong direction, maybe because I don't have the operational understanding of schools. I think schools are also very, I think, underinvested with respect to their legal support system. Is that what it is?
It's spot on.
Right?
Absolutely spot on.
In my view, I personally feel, because this is going to happen. I mean, sorry to say that this will not going to go away very, very soon by any chance, right? So if you're going to remain legally underinvested, then you will be bullied. As simple as that, right? Because you should have, and please, over to you. Yeah.
No. The underinvestment is not just legal, and you're perfectly correct on that, but also in governance.
Governance aspect.
Somewhere we are missing out on governance. And I think IPN, a body like IPN can actually help step in on governance with schools, basically working with you for, for governance aspects, which will, there should be a representation body for schools, correct? There are, but they're all scattered all over the place. But if you really want it to be done at the policy level, then it has to be at one apex across the country. Because something that's happening in Delhi, I can't turn around in Bangalore today and say, it's happening in Delhi, who cares, correct? Because somewhere it's going to come and bite me at some point. So, someone like you leading this at an all India level will make a huge difference.
I mean, certainly. At least I will take what I say, that there is somebody who will have to take this initiative, purely because from the understanding point of view, I may not really add a lot of value to it, but definitely what Raviji is mentioning is that one is, I think, the leadership aspect, which can be nurtured, which IPN will definitely work on, because that comes right into our work today. I think governance from the academic standpoint, wherein people do not really understand what governance is actually in India. So I think your intervention there, I'm getting some thoughts in my mind. We'll develop it, but then I'll discuss with you later on. But I think we have time for now Q&A, Raviji, because I think we really want the audience to get involved in this conversation now. And leaders, I'm opening the house for Q&A. I had a couple of more questions. Honestly, I had, but one of them was purely on AI, but I will park that because I think Raviji did take up beautifully how it can be done right now in the institution. I often say this at least internally in my setups, which is that anything which has to be good will take a little time. You have to have patience with it, and you have to be at it for that matter, right? So opening the house for Q&A. If you have any observation, please just give us a virtual show of hand, or you have any specific question for Raviji. I'm sure this is the right time to ask it. Please go ahead. And we'll have to be swift, okay? And which is that we don't have to mull over a lot of this, because we have only now 14 minutes to do this, guys, okay? You'll have to give us a virtual show of hand. We'll help you unmute, and then you can ask your question. That's the way we'll do it. I see. Acha, okay. Zargarji, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, 𝒂𝒓. It was really very, very nice discussion. But personally, I feel that, in present scenario, wherein the population profile of India is that we have 65% of the youth there in the country. And probably it's on the basis of this portion of the population that we are talking about 𝑽𝒂𝒏 Bharat. But I feel there is complete dichotomy in what the world of work demands and what we as teachers do in the school, whether it's principal, director, owner, or even in the public sector there. Probably there is that disconnect in what we do and what the world demands of us. As you rightly said it, sir, I believe that it's a perfect web. And unless and until we do not reorient the strings of the web, I'm sure that nothing is going to happen. And if we do not realign our whole system to the requirements, I'm sure that we may cry from the house roofs, 𝑽𝒂𝒏 Bharat and 𝑽𝒂𝒏 Bharat. Nothing is going to happen. Yes, there's way out if we as teachers and the powers that be, if they really mean to take India to the new heights, I feel this is the right time now. We have to tailor our curriculum. We have to realign our pedagogy to the contemporary times. Because I personally feel, curriculum doesn't come from the vacuum. Curriculum is derived from the social curriculum, and it's the school curriculum which adds to the contours of the social curriculum. And if we do not do something novel and something out of box, I'm sure that, we will not be able to achieve that goal that we have envisaged for the whole of India. Thank you, please.
Very nicely put. I also think that, that continuum has to be set now, a learning continuum from education to skills to employability to employment has to be set, because if we don't set that part correct, where we are able to reach, and I think the biggest issue is the ability to reach some of the areas. See, there are, for example, close to 54,000 colleges in this country, but 60% of those colleges have less than 100 people. Not viable. And also, most of the colleges don't have content. But how difficult is it for, or teachers for that matter, correct? How difficult is it for the government to set one cloud infrastructure with content across all the courses that you want, which can be written up by industry people? Now, I did that when I was in a GCC in HP, and I set up a complete certification program for CIMA UK. So we can do that, and then roll it backwards towards skill to education, back to it. So that's where I will put it. There is a question from
Rakhi ji, your question. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Good evening, all of you. And Ravi sir, it was a delight listening to you. Every word you spoke it brings a lot of thought and replay. And I'm really privileged to be the part of this panel today to understand what you are doing. And I'm sure I'll be searching more. It's really interesting to learn what you are doing. And I would like to ask a question from the point mental well-being of the children were discussed. So I strongly believe that psychological first aid should be taught to each and every person of the school, not only teachers, not only principals and coordinator, but the uh, peons and the housekeeping staff of the school, right from the guard up to the management. Because the early we catch a child facing some problem, and from where it is coming, and then looping up the help at a right time will help us groom these kids nicely. And we cannot forget that in schools we are the guardian because they are under 18, and without this empathy that we are the third important part of the triangular life of a child, school and parents. So until and unless we don't take this as a charge, we are also part of it, we won't be able to do justice. So I would really like to know more from you, sir, and to learn how I can help doing this part of my job in my school.
First thing is you brought out every employee from the security guard to the peon to the, we typically tend to limit it to few people. And I think it's everyone's responsibility. I think that's the first thing that you tried to say in that mental well-being is everyone's responsibility. What I've done at Smrti is, also a slightly different take here. I've done what's called as the Smrti Mom concept, called Smrti Mom, where first to fifth, the class teacher is the mom for the child, where the child can actually go and talk and say anything to the mom. And it need not be that she's in a class and doing something. She can actually go and get disturbed in the class and the mom will have to answer. But more importantly, I am the mom for two children in ninth grade and 10th grade. And they come and talk to me anything, no judgment, nothing. For example, I was talking to one of these guys and said, okay, what's happened, man? Your grades have fallen last time, what's happened? And he said, sir, what do I do? I'm distracted. There's this beautiful girl who's there next to my house, and most of my time I'm thinking of her, not able to focus. I was serious about it, correct? But he didn't have a bit of hesitation talking to me about it, because he knew I was just going to be there, sitting there, listening to him and then helping him through this. Now, we as moms should also know where to stop, because there will be times when we don't know, correct, how to do, and therefore we call in the person that we have, the counselor that we have, to help out if it is required. But that's a judgment call. or we may need to go and call the actual parents, correct, to say, hey, this is happening with the child. But those are judgment calls which we need to take. But the Smrti mom seems to be working in a small way. And that is why when I recruit also, and I'm the, the person who does the last interview is me. There's one commitment that I ask from all the teachers who come and join me. I said, yeah, you're a B.Ed, you're an expert in the subject, na. First, can you be a good mom for me? And that is something that I really want to see. And most of the time, and over the last 20 years of my recruiting for my Montessori school and for this, and I picked this up from my wife, actually. She's the one who taught me what is it to be a good mom. And we sat down and we are able to see it in the eye of the teacher when we do the interviews. Of course, we have made our mistakes. It's not that we haven't made our mistakes. We've made our mistakes, but 80% of the time I've been right in this guess. And so I give that leeway, and 20% of the time I'm going to make my mistakes and learn from them. But that's what it is. What has worked for me is this.
Perfect. Time for one more question, right? So any question or any observation, if you have something which you have experienced in your school, something you would like to share with all of us, so that all of us stand to gain from your experience as well, we will love to hear from you. For once, I saw Dr. Ashish Mittal and I figured out I am seeing myself in reflection, minus the hair. That's it. No, that's a compliment for you. You are my brother. Don't take it otherwise. So happy to see you. Yes. Induji, please go ahead.
Thank you for such a lovely session. And thank you, Mr. Gaurav, always arranging best of the resources for us. I just want to add that good psychology brings good biology. So children, if they're happy, they're enjoying, they would be in good state of mental and physical health. I mean, physical health depends on their mental health. So no stress, no health issues, and you see child attendance 100%. So they're all to gain. And best thing, if the teachers and children are in non-threatening environment, everybody's in good health and everybody's keen to learn. And ownership would definitely happen without anybody talking about it. If the teacher feels that I'm respected, I'm valued, she would own the school. Everybody in the school would feel it belongs to me, be it help support staff or a guard or anybody. So main is non-threatening attitude, atmosphere. Beautiful.
Excellent. I took your one-liner. Good psychology brings good biology. Thank you. I noted it down.
Thank you.
Yes, good one. Thank you, Induji. Yeah, thank you very much. I think I missed out Ganeshji. Sorry, Ganesh Patel, please, your question. Then Anubhaji will come to you. That will be the last question. Last two questions, Raviji, and then we'll call it a day.
Absolutely.
Please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to know, how do you deal with the children who suffer from autism and the special learners, particularly the children in 3-tier cities where the special educators are not available? It becomes very difficult, sir. So can you suggest some ways or some resources that we can use to help the autistic children or the special learners, dyslexic?
Yeah. So
Thank
dyslexic and autism are totally different, because dyslexic, the IQ is there, but the their word formation and sentence formation is a problem, whereas autism can be even low IQ. So what we do as a general rule for our school, which is in Bangalore and therefore tier 1 city, any child with less than 80 IQ, we can't even handle. So we tell the parent upfront, hey, we are not able to help your child. Anyone beyond that, we are able to take, and we have special needs educator to do that. If you don't have a special needs educator, there are some agencies which can do that, and I will suggest some agencies to you separately. I'll send the message through Mr. Gaurav tomorrow or day after.
Okay, that's great. Sir, do you suggest IQ test before taking the admission?
No. What happens is, if there is a child who is who's coming in and who has a you have as a learning difficulty, you can always ask for an assessment to be done by an expert. So we will not do. Schools are not equipped to handle that typically.
Okay.
So the ideal thing will be for that expert to give that report to you, so that you will get to know, okay, how far behind is the child. So they'll say verbally the child is 2 years behind or 3 years behind, or intellectually this is where the child is. So they'll give you a thing after checking them out. The biggest issue that you will always see children, especially in the age group of say 3.5 to 10, when they come and join you, should be speech delay. If they have a speech delay, please be worried.
Okay. And sir, what about cerebral palsy? Right?
Cerebral palsy, yeah. It's very difficult because it has both physical and a mental thing. So, and those are low IQ. You have to be 100% sure that you will be able to handle and help the child. Otherwise, don't take the child. See, anything at the end of the day, bring it back to the child. If you're not able to help the child, don't take, because please understand that most of the time, these parents, the family becomes a single learning member in the family, because the other parent is looking after the child full time, and they'll struggle to meet the fee requirements and other things. So just be careful of that. I'll stop here.
Anubhaji, your final question. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Gaurav. Namaskar, everyone. And thank you, Raviji, for this wonderful session. It has been highly insightful. While I was listening to all the views being shared by the attendees, also with respect to the questions and the insights shared by you, I was drawn to the concept of academic rigor in this era of hyperparenting, where the parents are expecting all comforts for my child, which is very special. And there is an increasing low tolerance, which is seen both with respect to emotional tolerance as well as physical tolerance, which has made almost all of us to realize that we have to invest a lot in robust teacher training and developing the mentors first before the children. I do see that somewhere there is a decline in academic rigor. And I just wanted your insights on the same, if you can help us. Do you also observe a similar trend, or am I exposed to a different population?
No, I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's not India. I guess it's a worldwide phenomenon. See, 2-3 things have impacted. One is, I don't know about hyperparenting, but I can tell you that it's more parents. Most of the time, parents are not able to spend time with their children, and therefore the guilt factor actually hits them more than anything else. And that comes out in different forms if you look at it.
Yeah.
So if you look at what is needed is, one, you have to look at wellness from few different angles. So wellness, we look at wellness from physical wellness first, correct? Then the mental wellness, then the emotional wellness. But we also add a spiritual wellness to our curriculum, which we have done. We have added a spiritual wellness to the curriculum. And finally, we have what is called as academic wellness. That is, how is it that the child is coping up with what is the child, the ask of the child from the school, one, and from the parent, two. If you really want to make this work, it has to be a three-way. The school, the teacher, the parent, I mean, with the child in the middle. When I say three-way, I'm talking that the child is in the middle, but it has to be a three-way thing where the school, the teacher, and the parent are involved in that conversation. a lot of conversations. That's why there is a lot of time that I spend, almost 2 hours every week, every day that I spend with parents, is primarily to tell some of them, I have to tell some of them that, when they bring a child to me and say, okay, I have a child in 3rd grade or 4th grade who say 10 years old or 11 years old, I say, you are also 10 years old as a parent.
Yes.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I'm like 31 years old. So I have that much little, mileage than what you have. But more importantly, as principals, as parents, they are seeing one child or 2 children, whatever the number of children they have. As a principal, you are the mom for thousands of children, and you're seeing all kinds of complexity. And I think that should be discussed with the parent, and they should be told that, that's the complexity that you're seeing, and why certain things matter and why certain things don't even matter. So, for example, if somebody comes and tells me, my child should not be playing outside in the sun, I'll just tell them, please leave, because half an hour getting the sun is a must in my school. Every day, half an hour, the child has to be out in the sun. If you tell me for some, physical reason he shouldn't be out in the sun, I can understand, and we can take a doctor's opinion on that. But otherwise, he's out there playing. If at all the child is going to play football, it's not going to be on the mobile, it's going to be on that field. So those are some of the things where I will put my foot down with the thing. We get frightened. See, our fear takes over, correct? What if this fellow puts a lousy rating on social media, or leaves my school and goes away, or he has his WhatsApp group where he says we have a lousy school principal? Guess what? I have had lousy reviews on so many WhatsApp groups about myself. So that's okay. That's okay. For every 10 people who will support you, there will be 100 people who will say, oh, you're lousy. So that's okay. That's life. We just do what we think is right for the child. I'm not sure I answered your question, but...
No, that was convincing, because I was kind of feeling that, am I the only one who's witnessing this declining in academic rigor? So it's good to know that it's a same concern for all. And I carry back the Panchatattva of wellness, which is a very powerful takeaway. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think just one bit, Raviji, which is one of the leader, Sharbari ji, has a quick observation. So once she shares this, we will then call it a day. Please, Sharbari ji, go ahead quickly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ravi, for this wonderful session. Lots and lots to learn from such experienced people like you. And thank you, Gaurav, for giving us this opportunity also. I just wanted to add to the special need children. Somebody had a question on that. So because CBSE conducts a very good CPP on special need children. And I also, actually, I'm one of the resource person for it, but my co-resource person, she's brilliant at it. Okay. And if you're based in Delhi NCR, then Ashtavakra is the place, from where these people, they come and they take the sessions, very experienced people. And every time, though I am one of the co-resource persons, but every time I take a session along with her, I have something new to learn, which is very good for my school. So, I just out of the way when I heard sir talking about it. So I just thought it would be an added information for all. So many leaders are also here and so many teachers. And if you could, as a leader, get it conducted in your school at least once, it's a 2-day CBP. Get it. There are many people. I mean, it's not necessary like anybody can come and take the session, but the session is very, very fruitful and very good for the teachers who will be attending this session. It's a 2-day session on specifically on these inclusive education. Basically, it is based on, and it's all about special need children and how to, take care of them, the level of IQ, exactly what is required for these special need children to be able to attend a school, as well as how to make the classes inclusive when to reach out for help from outside help when you need for these children, as well as the cooperation of parents, counseling them. Everything is covered in this 2-day CBP program. So it was just because I am into it, so I thought that I would just share it with all the leaders so that they could get it done in their school. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No, absolutely. In fact, that is the idea, and thank you for adding that value, Sharbhiji. I'm sure people will get.
I'll share that over the group, the address of the place. So if anybody from Delhi NCR could take the help from there.
Absolutely. Perfect. So I know it is 1 hour less, Raviji, absolutely less. But firstly, thank you very much. Absolute pleasure listening to you. It was I would say, such a concrete takeaway. I mean, all things which were practical, which are doable, and which I believe every leader, by the time we will leave this session, will at least give a thought to, and I'm sure few will implement it as well. From the bottom of our hearts, we are thanking you, Raviji, and this is on behalf of everybody, in fact, here who has joined us this session. I'm just resonating the message because we're getting a lot of messages on our chat window as well. I have read few of them, but this is certainly not the last session with you. This is just the start, and I hope to see you very, very soon. For all of the leaders who have joined us today, thank you very much. The session continues. In fact, we will be convening tomorrow as well. So tomorrow at 5:30, I hope to see you, all of you, joining another session. And thank you once again.
Thank you.
All distinguished leaders, go back safely and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Raviji.
Thank you.
Thank you.